everyone, my name is Xiaojia Guo, and I want to talk about this affirmative action and why it should be abolished. The inform my audience about the evaluation and impact of affirmative action, and it should be abolished in case of reverse discrimination. By raising this talk game, I'm going to attract audience action on recent after and critical thinking. When speaking of affirmative action, some of us may feel confused. What the whole is it? Some may just know about it, but not familiar with whole events from history to current existence. Affirmative action can be called preferential and differential treatment. It was entered in 1960s as a response to civil campaign. It functioned as an approach to prevent disadvantaged group or minority groups with respect to skin color, religions, genders, or backgrounds from being discriminated by giving those target group preferential treatment. Such treatment means focused on employment, education, medical care, and project contracting, among which educational potential treatment stands out. However, it's also proposed inequality on some people, like higher college admission requirement for Asian students, which has caused head controversy over reverse discrimination. It is of great significance to credit it, by it also controversial to implement it in current society. Actually, affirmative action is derived from its original design. Reverse discrimination event emerges as a result of a political with more and more people calling for it abolished. This speak is going to inform audience of event and the impacts of affirmative action and why it should abolish it in case of reverse discrimination. Three main points I will make in my speech are as follows. It's of significance to credit affirmative action, but it also results in inevitable outcomes. Affirmative action is not applicable to current society and should be abolished for three reasons. There are so many parts who are against abolishing affirmative action. Maybe some of you feel lost and seen when I introduce this topic, but make sure the concentrate on me in case of getting lost. Since President Kennedy and John Hanson signed a series of executive order that mind is giving ethnic minorities preferential conditions to improve their civil rights. It has been supposed by most people and has gradually been made into law and policed. Affirmative action has extended become one of most important actions that have profound influence on military in America. Currently speaking, when presentation capital and personal quality is virtually the same. Black people, Indians, Hispanics, Asian, and women can enjoy priority admission or priority of loading from government. Performance in education features out and affirmative action encourage quota system to admit ethnic minorities to enter university. It can be determined as a tendency of mainstream sprint of American society. Even citizen is involved and the situation compared with affirmative action and hence must accept it as a positive measure against discrimination from 30 years. Affirmative action has achieved a great merit by making process to most ethnic groups. However, the competition in an object manner, since economic growth can also push our society move forward. How much society advancement on Earth then has been achieved can be critical from affirmative action. Since all change can, there is no exception for such action. Question and compassion arise to challenge such preferential treatment. Has affirmative action crossed reserve discrimination? In my view, affirmative action has completed its mission of alleviate discrimination against ethnic minorities during special period in history. Affirmative action is not applicable to current society and should be abolished for 3 reasons. Firstly, those minorities that used to be in disadvantages position has groups strong and do not need affirmative action to shelter them anymore. After 30 years, to prevent discrimination, black people along with other ethnic minorities has improved their social rights, or rather than the whole disadvantaged groups have great strength to fight back. Even whole disadvantaged groups have gained great strength to fight back. Even new advantage stepped in this country, his civil rights are preserved in a law and allowed no instruction. Just because of these rights in standing, more and more people started to question the necessity of extensions. We all know that affirmative action was built on the basis of inequalities, that it was formulated based on compensation or reimbursement, since compensation infinite and inequalities is not permanent. Nobody believes affirmative action is permanent action. People have researched the consensus that affirmative action is bound to end, but there are divergences among people that want the abolish and which are to be abolished first. University of California has taken the initiative to bring it up as a bill. Based in 1994, it stopped providing preferential conditions for minorities and women in enrollment, which attracted the whole nation's attention on affirmative action campaign. Secondly, affirmative action lead to reversing discrimination. Who benefit most from affirmative action are bank people, Hispanics, and Native Indians, Asian, John, immigrated from southern or eastern airport. Are not included. What source? When carrying out this action, extreme phenomenon has occurred that some school and occupation are too hard to apply for it if you are not thermometers. White people who make up for a big part of American population feel like being discrimination in reversive way. For example, the famous Michigan University take different enrollment criteria. Even a hard-working teenagers who is not ethnic minorities achieves a full mark in SAT. With any other condition being the same, he still may fail to be admitted because ethnic minorities have extreme preference scores of 20, which helps the later surpass the form in total marks. In 2003, two white students launched a lawsuit against Michigan University because they felt like being discriminated. It has been proved in rational call for abolishing fair action. In 1996, California University was the first to pass the famous 209 bills to stop the implementation of affirmative action in California state, canceling quota student system and forbidding considering record gender and ethnic groups first enrollment. 10 years later, Michigan State followed to get rid of affirmative action. In addition, Missouri and Washington State partake in such affirmative action campaign. Up to now, there have been states that forbid affirmative action being implemented in public universities. Thirdly, long-run preferential treatment is determined to group strength sprint. Every coin has its two sides. Even if affirmative action bring perfect panic to target groups, but meanwhile it may be the teenager notion of equality. But bad reasons may correct that young generals are too depends on such potential police, whether in going to university or finding job, which in fact not good for their being student. Every crowd has its two sides. There are so many people who advocate in continual extendance. However, there are also many parts that are against abolition of affirmative action. Their reason can be summed up to follows. First, affirmative action has contributed to strengthening out historic mistake in terms of racial discrimination. Second, affirmative action contribute to the creating multiple education environment where students with various backgrounds and life experience can learn together and exchange ideas. Thirdly, it has been proved that affirmative action fosters generation of black colors, at least covering even works of social life, such as the famous lawyer Jonas who pushed forward the presence of the room of the room and improved legends and black people can enjoy. Up to now, you may better understand why affirmative action is so nice. Different people have different options. We cannot judge it in methods by one dimension. In our world, as a member of the society, we expand to care much more self-related issue. The social equality has been boosted day by day, and affirmative action has completed it in specific missing since then. Specific provide is not anticipated in current society. Section. Rather than reverses discrimination, other hand, experience from it. Non-wrong performance treatment not only determines a group's striving sprint, but also bring will potential unfairness. It is undoubted affirmative action has taken positive role in rectifying social unfairness and creating more median class of national minorities. But just as Chief Just robots of a university state with United States once said, the best way to end racial discrimination is to end racial discrimination. I believe that affirmative action is bound to be abolished because a new equal era is arriving. Thank you so much.